Yes. Hi.
Yo,
Hello.
good
Great.
evening.
Greetings. Good evenings to all of you tuning
So,
in live.
what time is it with you? I keep on forgetting our time gap.
Where in the world am I? Right now, the time is 2:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, that's not too bad at all. See, I'm at 9:30 in the evening.
You're at
So,
9:30.
it's good afternoon, good evening. To those of
Good
you listening,
afternoon.
if you're listening to this, well, you'll be listening to this bit on the replay. So that'll be fairly pointless bit of conversation. Unless you're watching it on LinkedIn, then you might be seeing this bit as well.
Well, hopefully you're watching live. If you are watching live, hello and welcome, and let us know where you're watching from. That's my favorite question to ask because drives engagement or something. Yeah.
I mean, who needs engagement? It's in a in some sort of like podcasting live stream. I mean, really, it's a bit overrated.
Yeah, maybe. Oh.
All that was them people who are watching, commenting, and sharing their thoughts with us just kind of get in the way, don't they?
Yeah, who needs other people to comment on I truly want you to comment on this. So do we need to address the elephant in the room here?
I think we probably have quite a few elephants. Which elephant are you referring to?
uh
Put that out there.
okay. Hold on. Do we need to address multiple elephants here? I mean, maybe. Okay, so the elephant that I'm specifically talking about is the elephant regarding the title.
Oh right, okay, that elephant. Yeah, okay. See, it's the fact that I guess I really wasn't really sure where you were going with that until it wasn't an exactly obvious elephant. Therefore, I was like, this could be going in one number of places. So the fact that we're going to have to address AI again, I mean,
Reluctantly, yeah. You saw how distraught that guy looks in the image for the thumbnail for today.
yeah, yeah.
If you didn't see it, well, here. Wait, hold on. How do I get this to just show up? Anyway, this guy.
But the hacker,
Yeah, yeah, hoodie
but
guy.
I mean, to be fair, we've sort of said this before, haven't we? That you know, and we'll definitely get to it in the three stories that we're talking about today. The fact that we're not going to get away from this unless we are talking about anything, something that is non-digital. So that sort of product, which I've been playing with a bit recently. AI is pervasive now. It is everywhere, and in fact, it's almost if you're not using AI, why not? And yeah, so we're going to do it more and more. Whether we need to perhaps not badge things AI as much anymore and just take it as given, I don't know.
Um. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about AI tonight, and the you know I did this begrudgingly because there's there's other stories, but there seemed to be a couple of important ones for AI this week that I just felt like we needed to talk about.
Yeah.
And so the stories that we're talking about tonight are a collection across sources here. And just if you're sticking with us now and you want to know what the show's about, I will tell you up front. We're going to be talking about AI slop making us critical thinkers. Pause for effect. And then sort of how AIs and how they're integrating into the workplace. And then Google's Project Genie. So those are the three things that we'll talk about tonight. We kind of lumped them all under this AI banner. Although I will say, you're all in for a treat tonight because we have a new segment, and it's rare that we get to introduce new segments on the show. But this is one I want to say this one has been years in the making. It really has been. And I'll give more. Well, I guess it's the pre-show. I can give context. Um, Longtime friend of the show, Phil Doyon. He was actually one of our first interviews, I think. Woodrow, long time ago, interviewed him at Kai. He's been talking to me for several years now about like, hey, how can the aerospace systems technical group from HFES get involved with communicating what's going on? And they do a terrific job over there of consolidating all the news stories in the aerospace field, and I actually use those for some of our human factors news sources. Um, I'll take a look at that and kind of bring some in. But I may not need to do that anymore. And the reason is because now we'll have a new segment called This Week in Aerospace. We'll pass it over to Phil, and this week he's sitting down with Elena, and they're going to talk about the latest in aerospace. And I'm excited to have that as a segment. It provides us with some flexibility in the future if we wanted other technical groups to come in and talk about the news in their sector. And it's going to be great. I'm super excited.
I can't wait to see it. You give me an ever so very quick sneak preview of the first second or so of it, so I can't wait to see the full thing.
Yes. I mean, yes. You saw that for a second.
So is the plan with them? Are they going to be producing this regularly, or is this just a sort of a trial?
Good question.
Okay.
The plan for right now is that this will be something that they do regularly. Now, I don't know how often the resources that be have bandwidth to do something like this. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like they want it to be fairly regular, and there's several folks over in the aerospace systems technical group that could potentially do this, and we've tried to make it to the point where it is lightweight enough to where it doesn't require a whole lot of effort, at least from the logistics perspective. So I'm excited. It's been so long since we've introduced a new segment to the show. I think the last introduction, which was technically not a new introduction, was One More Thing, because it was kind of like just moving the banter to the end of the show and calling it something different.
Yeah. I guess what else have we done? Yeah, no, I think everything else has been but I mean, to have an entire segment like this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and with a new segment, comes a new intro to join the ranks of our favorites here, the news. The news, and then there's obviously it came from. Yes, and then here's a sneak peek for those of you watching live. You will get this week in aerospace. This is the new intro. Yes, look at all those aerospacey things happening at one time.
I like. There's something about lots of like planes, drones, and all that sort of stuff going on that I'm very much a fan of. So
it's got plenty there to look at for our ADHD friends, myself included. You know what I'm also excited about, and I'll talk about this on the show too. But if you are unfamiliar, we have a lab with the Human Factors cast.
You should have mentioned that. You keep so quiet about that every week. About Fortnite.
Yeah, I talk about it every now and then. We have a lab over there, and we have some fabulous folks in the lab. And what those fabulous folks have done lately has now seen the light of day. So if you're following us on our social media platforms, specifically the ones with short form video, you might have noticed a new addition last week. And it's called User Experience Points.
Cool. Very exciting. It's
what is user experience points? Well, it's a combination of the term experience points, which you might find in gaming, and user experience, which is one of the core fields in human factors. And it smashes them together, and you get some nice conversation about how games are made to hack our psychology and to design for us humans. The first episode is out now. It's actually doing quite well.
cool.
The goal for this is to get folks who are maybe into gaming but have no human factors knowledge to understand some of these concepts. So it's a really cool idea that we have put out there into the world. And the first one is on Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, and the parry system, and how it uses a different technique than most games do with parrying. And it kind of uses signal detection theory, especially with sound cues, to help you parry in that game. And so it's a great watch. It's about a minute long. So if you have a minute of your time, recommend going to check that out. They put a lot of time and effort into it. Our next one's coming out soon. Constant development on these things. So I'm very excited. I'm super excited. This is such a win for the lab. I'm very proud. I'm very proud.
So you should be. Where would people find this? Where?
Great question. Like I said, if you follow us on any of the social platforms, especially those with short form media, so Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, those ones are where we've posted them. I think we posted one on Blue Sky too, but we don't get good metrics over there. Yeah. And then we're avoiding the other one like the plague. So you can find us there. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should just bring it up and share it.
Have you heard that there's a new platform on the streets?
Oh, do tell.
Upscrolled is apparently the one that is taking over from everything else. I looked at it, I've downloaded it, and I've not used it since. So yeah, really, but because again, Blue Sky was meant to be the new up and coming big thing, and I don't know about you, I just can't get into it.
Oh, okay, because I thought you were going to go a completely different direction with this and talk about Moltbook.
No, that's a new one on me. That's do give us the inside on that. What is it?
Okay, well, Moltbook is just for AI bots.
So how does that work?
It's a social media platform just for AI bots.
Cool.
It has 1.6 million users.
Okay.
And it's they're doing things like forming groups and working together on stuff, and it's very interesting. You know, there are AIs on there talking about their humans. It's very strange. It's very strange.
So what is that? What do you say? Moltbook.
Moltbook.
I'm gonna have to have a quick look, can't I?
And yeah, and so it's all these AI agents on there to act autonomously.
Cool. I like it. But no, I hadn't seen that at all. So I'm gonna have to engage with that. Now the one I'd seen was this Upscrolled, which was shared to me by, I think, was it a chat, one of our family chats? So one of our daughters shared it with us, and so I went and had a look because it's going to be the new thing, and again get more democratization and all this sort of stuff, and got bored of it quite quickly. I think because everybody, I mean, you can't get away from the original successful version of Twitter. You know, when Twitter was cool, when Twitter was useful before it became the cesspit that it is now, everything you then do is basically a copy of that, going forward and trying to almost get back to what the original is, with maybe a tweak of some description. But it just doesn't, nobody can quite scratch that itch. in my own personal opinion. I got, like I said, I got quite excited about Blue Sky.
Didn't
But
quite hit the mark, huh? Not quite.
no, it just. I think the problem is that everybody that you use Twitter specifically, or certainly I felt I did, was getting so much. You know, you if you knew something was happening, that's where you'll get the live information from, because people will be tweeting about it and engaging. And now you look, I still keep an eye on it because there's a couple of people on there who still keep on. They sort of like almost fighting the good fight, as it were, but they that's why they share some of their insights. But I haven't posted on there for a very long time, and I certainly don't engage with it, because as soon as you look at other comments and other posts, it's just a horrible cesspit. So,
oh yeah.
but never mind. In other amusing news, I because we spoke about Lego the other week. I've finished my Artemis rocket Lego, which
Ooh.
it's nearly a meter high. Brilliant. So
Do you? Okay, I was gonna say, do you have it handy? But if it's a meter high, don't have it handy
no,
to show.
it's in the house. It's not coming here. I'm scared to carry it down the garden to the to the studio. So it does need to come down here at some point, because apparently it can't live on our coffee table. Because Amanda was saying that she's so worried about every time she goes past the table, if she nudges the table, particularly as I've been away this week, she was there scared about nudging the table and smashing it before I got back. I prefer if
we had some of our Legos break during the move. We need to go put back together again. So that'll be a fun activity, especially because they've announced new Lego cats. We're Lego cat collect.
Oh right, okay.
So they have the tuxedo cat, and there's a lucky cat. There's a Lego 3-in-1 creator cat, and now they've introduced an orange cat that is very similar to the tuxedo cat. We had a tuxedo. She left too early. And then we have an orange cat. So we have to get the orange cat.
Yeah, fair.
And then my wife is a big fan of Eevee, the Pokemon, which is cat-like.
Yeah.
And so we have to get that one. And then they just announced, I think yesterday, Derpy from K-pop Demon Hunters, the blue cat.
I've not had the pleasure of K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh, yet. You've not caught up with the zeitgeist on that one, huh?
No, I haven't. So I guess my children are now that bit older that that they haven't. I haven't been forced to watch it. I know some people with particularly with younger children have watch it like 24/7, just on repeat. So I've heard of it. I know it's out there, but I'm not partaken yet.
Well, you and Amanda need to treat yourself. I mean, it's a fantastic film. Great catchy songs.
I think if by treating ourselves, we might veer more on a nice walk down the beach than watch K-pop Demon Hunters.
Okay, well, yeah, suit yourself. It's a great movie.
Questions before we go? Should we do the actually talk about the show bit for a moment?
Oh, I guess I was having fun talking about Lego cats.
It's I meant to say before we do that, because Amanda's really into Lego flowers.
Oh, okay.
And has got like sort of roses and daffodils and orchids and stuff. They look so good. I think I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Right. So stories. So we've obviously got the blurbs for the 3 stories. Pull them together. Yeah. Are we going to do blurb? So story 1 blurb discussion, story 2 blurb discussion, or story 3 blurb discussion, or do we just blurb and just thought out?
I think we go with the first option.
Yep.
Blurb, story, second blurb, second story, third blurb, third story. But I don't think we need to limit our discussion to just one story. If we go into the next story, and it's like, oh well, actually, this is a great tie back to the first story that we talked about. We can cross over. I don't think there's no bumpers or guardrails.
Cool.
Just
That's absolutely fine.
yeah. Okay. Great. This will be a fun show. So
See, now you said that.
Oh, did I? Oh, this show's gonna suck, except for the new segment.
That's true. Yeah. Well,
no, shoot. Now the new segment's This whole show is gonna.
It's all gonna suck.
It'll be fine. I find that when I say it'll be fine, it usually turns out really good. Or okay.
Yeah, it's the ones that you sit there and go, "Oh, I didn't really put much effort into it," and it turns out brilliant. And the ones you really read deep into and do all the pre-reading and all that sort of stuff, that they're the ones that end up being, okay, it didn't go, the conversation didn't go the way that we expected.
Did I update all these notes?
I think you've done your one more thing.
I did. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You're doing that.
Oh yeah, I saw. Oh yeah, that's wonderful. Good. One more thing.
Yes, I thought so.
Whoa, you went hard on your thoughts here. These were just initial thoughts from me. I didn't go hard on my initial thoughts.
Oh, it was just because when you're, because there's three of them. I've sort of got three. I like, and everybody will realize it's the same thing from three different perspectives, and so I wanted to try and make sure I captured my thoughts in the right area.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Which is what I was trying to do. But
okay,
we displayed them. I don't really care. But
okay.
Oh dear me. And, yeah, no, that's cool. I think we're good.
Good. I'm just noticing. Sorry, I just took a look in our Discord, and I just took a look at our chat. Lucifer760. Hi. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
I will attempt to get all the cats, and the username is funny too. I know who you are. You said in Discord. And that's all I'll say about connecting the two.
Yes. Gotcha. Cool.
Wow. Look at us go. Look at us go.
I
need to remove this. I should probably remove this. What does this button do? Oh, no.
I was doing another interview this week because I've got my second interview in the bag for 1202, which is great. But just some of the changes you can mess about with now. I quite like that. Can you put a background in that as well?
Oh, I can. Yeah. If I were to throw up our there you go. How about that one? There you go.
Well, that's quite.
Oh, wait, no, where'd it go? It went away. I clicked it too many times.
Yeah.
Ta-da! There it is.
But I was because the whole scenes thing, I was trying to set up a level of flow with the thing, and then it kind of messed me up right at the last second. But,
oh no!
Yeah, but obviously my 1202 is pre-recorded, so I've got an editing job to do at some point, just not today.
What? Hang on. What happens if we come to this view? Does it show the green outlines on those, or is that just on my end?
That's just on your end.
Okay, great. So look at us. Look at our ovals. Wait a minute. Hold on. We could be circles.
Just have that. That is cool.
We're circles. Now, why can't we be circles on this view?
You were circles. No, the original view that you had, you put us into circles, but large circles.
This one here?
Yeah, but then you put us into circles.
No, I know. They're like
There you go.
squared. They're squared.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, they're not complete circles. I like this one because they're complete circles. Now, how come I can't
Make them bigger.
I would like I would like to move these around. Like, I don't like just hanging out here, and I feel like we're a little close. Like I kind of want some.
You should be in the bottom left corner. You should put me up in the top right corner.
Right, but we can't do that. We don't have the control. We don't.
Maybe your picture it could move in a sort of figure of 8 all the way around the thing, like sort of.
Oh, we're just slowly patrolling.
Yeah.
The screen. Look. Yeah. Okay. Look at me. Press all the buttons. Wait. Okay. I don't. Geez, does this link still work? I think you can be a live caller. I don't know.
Might be able to. Might not. I can see it through the. Oh, that's something you don't see every day. So apparently, Restream Studio requires Safari for it to work on an iPhone. Normally, it's the last thing anybody wants that to work
on. You're on an iPhone?
Yes, but going through.
That's why. Yeah, I'd imagine it's Chrome on Android.
Quickly. How much time we got? 2 minutes.
How much time do we have? We have 2 minutes. Are we okay? Are we?
Yeah, I think everything else is absolutely fine.
Are we okay? Yeah. You know what? Hang on. I've been doing a terrible job of this lately. I'm actually going to do us justice this time. Give me a sec. I'm going to go. In the outro when I say you should check out this episode, I haven't been doing that. Barry 2. Barry 2. Do I dare put Barry 2 up here?
Oh, no, you can't do that. Why is it not going my camera?
You want me to put Barry 2 up here?
Could I? Yeah, but the camera isn't working. So
I could see you.
You can see me.
There. I can't see you any longer.
Because it was there.
I can see you now. Do you want me to put that view up here?
Try it. Go for it.
Okay. Hi, Barry 2.
Hi, Barry 2.
Whoa. Hey, I was quick on the draw on that one.
Oh, muted the mic is what you could shout. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Hold on. As long as they're doing this.
I said the camera is better. We've already got a minute before just putting.
Okay. Well, let's do a post show with Nick Barry.
Right. So Barry 2's leaving. Bye.
All right. Bye, Barry 2. Thank you.
All
right. That's great.
But I like that a lot.
That's hilarious.
Second camera.
We could multicam. That might be kind of fun. What was I gonna do? I was gonna do this thing. Hold on. Shoot. AI as a search term is too short. I cannot search on our website for AI. That's terrible design flaw. What is the last episode that we did on AI? December 1st. So the 7 emerging trends on. That's it. Okay, you know what? Here you go. That's it. That's the one. And since now I have the one, you are gonna have a show. Yeah. And I'm gonna have a show. And we're all gonna have a show. And the show will be a show. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Got to get me out of the pre-show mindset here because we're actually starting for reals in 3, 2.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast,
your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Human Factors Cast. This is episode 314. Can you believe we've done that many of these? We're recording this episode live on February 5th, 2026. I'm your host, Nick Rome, and I'm joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby.
Hello there. How are we doing?
Doing all right, Barry. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Love to be here as always.
Me too. I've turned off the pre-show apathy and have turned on the show persona. We're here.
Yes.
We have an awesome show lined up for you all. Let's talk about the title. I begrudgingly accepted that we must talk about AI this week, as much as we tried to avoid it, as much as we tried to get you interesting stories that do not involve AI and human factors. Well, sometimes it's just unavoidable. So we'll be previewing a few different stories about what the latest in AI is. But first, we got some programming notes. In fact, if you're unfamiliar, we have a lab. We have a lab here at the Human Factors Cast. It's the Human Factors Cast Digital Media Lab. Rolls right off the tongue. And we have some fabulous folks in that lab. And what those fabulous folks are working on sometimes see the light of day. Sometimes it's the unseen, unsung, appreciation for behind the scenes tasking that happens there too. But we have something new for you all that is a brand new take on human factors, and its crossover with games. And so it is called User Experience Points. This is a very clever title. We're very proud of it. And, the first episode is out now. So if you follow us on any of the social platforms that have short form video, you can find it there. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. It's a great reel. It's a great time. And we're going to be posting more of those. We're heavily into development already. And it's been doing some numbers on the Instagrams. It's, I think, what, 20 something thousand views, which is not insignificant for a niche like human factors. So very cool. Great job, lab. Aside from that, Barry, what's the latest over at 1202?
1202, we actually have some live episodes, or shall I say a live episode. So the first episode since 2024 is now live out there. So Matt Odell from Mill UX shared his thoughts with me on how UX and HF can be better used and better recognized in the defense domain. And really, we spent a lot of time talking about how do we better appreciate the value that it brings to defense products. But we also went back to that the old argument, the old discussion around what is that relationship between HF and UX, and Matt comes from this as a comparatively newer into the domain, so he's ex-military, and then picked this up on a project and has since become almost a evangelical about it in terms of using UX and Kanban and them sort of approaches. So we had a really good chat around that. So that is out there. I've also recorded the second episode, so I'm not going to share who it's with yet, but it's somebody who's quite important, and that's going to be going live in a couple of weeks. And then just a reminder that if you've been using our website to access 1202, then obviously we had the slight hiccup with the old 1202 podcast domain. So it's now 1202pod.com. So see you there.
As long as we're talking about new stuff, we have so many new stuff for you this week. We got the user experience points. We got the new stuff over at 1202, and local to the show, we have a new segment for you all tonight. So I'm very excited for you all to see the new segment that the Aerospace Systems Technical Group from HFES has been cooking up for us. So that'll be a little bit later in the show, but why don't we go ahead and get into the news? That's right. This is the part of the show all about human factors news. Barry, what are our stories this week? Let's start with one story. What is our story? Top story. What is the first story this week? Just read the story. Go.
As you say, I have three stories this week. So the first one, as we're going to look at, is what happens when novelty and it starts quietly rewiring how we think, how we work, and how we play. Our first story tackles AI slop and how it may actually be training us to act more like Wikipedia editors. So we are now more into double checking sources and treating everything like we see online with default skepticism instead of blind trust. So, Nick, have you been finding that? Do you check your sources more? Do you believe what you read?
Um, I mean, it's well. Let me talk about it from this perspective. I think this this claim here is kind of optimistic at best. I tend to think about like the folks on Facebook, the Facebook moms that are like, oh my gosh, can you? How did they train those cats to dance? Um, I tend to think about those people as the average, where there are people like us who are heavily invested in the advancements in AI and the advancements in tech, and I think that we are certainly changing our behaviors. And I think that there's also just an interesting note that if we do sort of default to this skepticism of what we're seeing, I think that can tend to breed conspiracy theories, which is
Yeah.
incredibly dangerous. And so those are my two like initial thoughts, but we can talk about it more in detail. What were your thoughts as you were reading through this article?
So I guess in some ways similar to yourself, that it's easy to see some of this data coming out and thinking, yes, people are reading deeper into it, and that type of thing. But as you point out, is this just our bubble? We're seeing our own stuff on social media, so we believe what we see, and therefore, if we see more people doing this sort of thing, we think we can transcribe that to the whole population. It's not quite true. Um, I think also though there is still some elements within the technology that means that, for those of you, when we are reading it, it's very analogous to simulation and what we see in simulation, because there is this term uncanny valley in simulation, where something is simulated well but it's just not quite right. So it isn't perfectly simulated, so you in your brain can know, um, it looks good, but it's not. But it's and it look wait high quality and all that sort of stuff, but it's just not moving in the right way. The creature or the person is not moving. But we push ourselves because we're like, okay, I know it's not real, but I'll believe it anyway in order for for the simulation, for the gaming, for whatever it is that I'm doing. And I think that's the way AI is now. That you can see a lot of AI content, AI generated content through LLMs or whatever, and for those of us who read quite a lot of it, we can see it. We know it's AI generated because of the construction, and because of what is put together. The video is just that, either a little bit too perfect or a little bit too polished. Um, but but as I've said, because that's in our bubble, the general public is possibly not quite there, and we're still in that piece of believing what we see. Um, is the It's still got a fair way to go before everybody is as critical as they need to be. But it is this idea about be critically reviewing our sources is a key skill we're going to need in the future. Um, it's easy. I sort of make the analogy with newspapers of old. We sort of talk about this idea about lies in the press, or nuances in the press that lean left or right or whatever, like it's a brand new thing. It's not. It's always been in the press, but we've had it through discrete channels before, and you've known where a certain newspaper, what its leanings are. Whereas now you don't have them big flags up there. So yeah, it's going to be a key skill. I do think it is becoming more, and the data seems to be backing that up. But it's not everybody, as you quite rightly say.
Yeah, I think there's also some things going on here when it comes to AI slop, especially when it comes to the assumption. I think there's an assumption by the author of this one, particularly, that is thinking that people are ramping up their literacy. when, I kind of see the opposite. People are disengaging, or they're sort of retreating into their echo chambers. Um, and so I question the core hypothesis around this article. They do cite some data that would support their claim, right? So I'll just read some of these supporting data points here. There's 21% of videos shown to new YouTube users are classified as low quality AI slop. So that's kind of the baseline for what normal content looks like for a new account. You also have another citation here for the trust in national news dropping 76% in 2016 to 56% in 2025. That's a 20% reduction. And I think they make the claim that there's this sort of this might be fake by default thing happening, but I don't know if that's necessarily true, especially when the contrary is true too. AI video generation is getting better and better, and it's harder for us to discern that uncanny valley of what is fake and what is real. The tells are getting harder and harder to parse apart. There have been videos that I've seen that I've said, like, please be AI, because they're so disturbing or something, that it's like, hey, that's got to be AI, right? Or it's somebody that's deeply disturbed doing these things. So I don't know. I tend to err on the side of this one is uh, I see it, but I don't.
Yeah. I think the one statistic in this that I think is really interesting from a humanity perspective is the 70% of young adults, get news incidentally. So they are coming across news. They are not going out to try and find news. Where historically you go and buy the newspaper, you go and look and work out what's going on in the world today. We now have to put it in front of people more rather than them coming to grab it and consume it. The other bit in this article I quite liked is, which I hadn't really heard of much about before, is this C2PA, which is a tech solution for cryptographic signing. So to prove that a file is to prove that it's real, so it's real content. It's there now. It's only really viable for a handful of devices, this article says. So unless you make it universally available, which could then, how does it not then get abused?
Yeah.
But the idea of being able to sign, this content today is we are two still live people doing our thing across
As far
the
as we
Atlantic.
know.
One day we sort of joked about it before, isn't it? Where we've said, can we have two AI versions of ourselves doing a podcast on our behalf? That's not today. We are still here. We're still human, but we would need, at some point, we're probably going to need to digitally sign in some way to say, yes, we are real. So I quite like that. That was a good insight.
Do I need to add like a ticker at the bottom that says we are real people talking about AI?
Yes. Yeah, because it's a reverse order, and then because then we'll have the AI versions of ourselves talking about the real people.
Right. Okay, why don't we move on to the next story here?
Yeah, okay. So the next story, we're digging into MIT technology reviews. Look at the augmented workplace, where AI shows up as a general purpose technology that raises productivity by amplifying human work rather than replacing whole jobs, especially in under automated sectors like healthcare, education, finance. I'll probably chuck research in there as well. So yeah, do you see have your AI buddy alongside you, helping you in your day to day rather than taking over your entire job?
In my notes, I put the human AI robot teaming technical group exists for this very reason. I think there's a large consensus within our field that it's going to be a teaming approach, that AI is not to be seen as a tool, but rather as a uh, collaborative partner in various circumstances. And I think the more that we think about that, as this AI thing is a partner, this AI thing, AI as a partner, especially agents or even LLMs, I think there's a different mindset that comes to that approach than thinking about them as tools. And so I think this article is kind of getting at that, and it'll be interesting to dig into this a little bit deeper and what does that actually mean for the workplaces. But what are your initial thoughts on this one, Barry?
So for me, I mean, this is Moore's law writ large. So the idea of technology evolving and developing at a rapid pace. AI, we spoke about it in almost reverential terms. I remember we started studying it in 97, 98 at university, and it was, it was a real tight thing that you had to be, super into software and all that sort of stuff to develop this stuff. But now it's so embedded in what we're doing. It is rapidly changing the way we work, or it should be rapidly changing the way we work because of what it's doing. So you're right. It's going to be working alongside us, but there are them direct tools. We've talked about things like vibe coding, that changing the way software engineers work. The companions, so what this story largely links into, with this idea of supporting what you're doing, it being alongside to nudge you and give you information to your fingertips. But it's even there in indirect support. So a lot of your web searches and that now are supported by large language models to make that searching easier. So you now, if you're into Google or any of the other things, you're now getting the AI précis at the top. So that's sort of, that's giving you the summary of your research, so you don't even have to scroll through your things anymore. I think for me, the big step that is really happening now is the gatekeepers have changed. So really, up to this point, I would say up to the past few years, the specialists who can use this technology, who can define this technology, who can code in this technology, have been the gatekeepers to the technology. And that's in the same way as that, the data itself was gate kept by librarians and all that, them and companies and large organizations, until the internet came along and made data so available to the point now we treat it almost like a currency. So that the internet itself heralded that data revolution, and now AI is clearly the next revolution that's going to enable so many things. I think there's a lot of people out there, and some people I really respect on the likes of LinkedIn and places like that, who are still trying to put the AI cat back in the bag. They're trying to sort of close Pandora's box, and it's just not an option anymore. So as you've alluded to, there's for the HF domain itself, there's three main streams I see that we need to get good in it, and it's not an option. It has got to be part of our everyday work, and that's understanding trust, and where data is coming from, understanding teaming, and task allocation. That derivation between automation, autonomy, and human work. They're going to be three key pillars of work for us going forward. So yeah, I'm quite excited by this, having worked on projects I think probably about 8 years ago, which I've mentioned on here before about using. So there was an avatar made of myself to do a representation of me, to look to see whether we could, if a chatbot version of me was as good as the real me. Now this seems like it's just a thing. It's there.
Yeah, one thing that's particularly striking to me about this article, MIT Tech Review is an outlet for people who love nerdy stuff, and which is why we find a lot of our human factors stories in there. And the interesting thing to me about this particular one is that this is in partnership with Vanguard. Vanguard is not small by any means, and the thing that's striking to me particularly about this is that we, as human factors practitioners, we've known this for a while, right? We've known the teaming approach, we've known the domain as far as it approaches things like decision making, and overloading, cognitive tasking, and those types of things. But the interesting thing to me about this is that now you have these big companies kind of stepping in and saying, maybe we should shift away from replacing jobs or automating jobs to working alongside this thing. And so that to me is a distinct difference, or a distinct marker, that if you can get big businesses to approach this perspective, then our job becomes easier to justify and easier to promote and easier to talk about, because now now we're understanding it as a universal need rather than thinking about it as we gotta replace these humans with these agents or something, versus okay, we got to get these humans aligned with these agents. It's a very different problem, a very different mindset, very different space. So that's very interesting to me, and I'm happy to see it, and I'm I'm genuinely thrilled for our folks in the human factors field who are going to have a ton of work to do in this space.
I mean, I guess the one quote out of this that I think is absolutely spot on. So part of this framework, this review has allowed them to examine AI automation risks over 800 different occupations, which is fab. So they've done a really broad review of this. And fundamentally, they reckon they think that upwards of 20% of occupations could be at risk. That's which is actually a lot smaller than number than what we talked about in the past. But what they say, and I'm quoting from the article, is workers' time will increasingly shift to higher value and uniquely human tasks, which for me is all around making decision making, moralistic decision making, value decision making. But unique human thing is to make decisions. Yes, AI helps us with the data behind that and things like that. So I'm really pleased to see that in articles like this, we're now really talking about what are the uniquely human traits that AI just will not be able to do or shouldn't do. Where is that human in the box? So, as you say, it's not just about replacing, which I think is fab.
One thing I think generally that businesses should be cautious of as they go into this approach is, you're right, there's going to be these distinctly human tasks, but there are also other things here at stake that the people who are changing their mindset need to consider, especially when it comes to thinking about their employees as like co-designers of the workflows or the processes that have to happen as you interact with this agent. They can't be prescriptive about it. They need to include folks in on this process so that way when it is applied, it's not applied in a way that is going to be clunky or where sort of it's tacked on. And I think that's the difference between thinking about it as a tool and thinking about it as a partner, where if it's a partner, it has to be more integrated into the workflow of the worker, regardless of the industry, right? It has to be integrated into that workflow. Whereas if you had sort of that prescriptive approach, you must use AI to do X, Y, and Z. I feel like that partnership breaks a little bit. And so that's something that I'm concerned about looking at it from a human factors perspective, is to make sure that leadership or higher ups understand that it needs to be, it needs to be thought of as a collaborative approach for how to move forward with these rather than a prescriptive one.
Yeah, and I guess there's one of the challenges there is what type of AI do you then start developing? Because you think that if you're going to have a cooperative AI agent, something to help you do your job, then that's going to be, as we have now, the AIs are generally developed quite specifically to do specific tasks or specific bouts of knowledge. Whereas artificial general intelligence is the thing that's coming up. And is it easier then for us just to produce AGI agents that will support any job? And then is that then going to support the user? So on the one hand, it will answer any questions or support us in any task that we need to do from the specific job to help him make a coffee or something like that, or working out if a shop's open. Does that mean that then the AI agents can overstep boundaries of the jobs and things like that? So how is it cheaper to buy a bunch of the same AGI and just deploy that no matter what they're on the workspace? And therefore, how do you delineate between them? And then I do keep on going back to, and we've quoted this on the show before, was the quote from Professor Paul Salmon, who when he was talking about AGIs, and as they become more intelligent, the more that they know, how do we still monitor that knowledge base and understand where that is in overall intelligence, I guess, because what does the future hold there? That is still, I having been quite positive around this. I think it is the future, but where we still need to be cognizant of those risks within the workspace.
You bring up an interesting point that I don't know if we've talked about before, but essentially this boils down to, if you think about the difference between a targeted model that is meant specifically for a specific task, and you work on integrating that as a partner in the domain versus applying something like a general artificial intelligence. There's an interesting gap that happens. I feel like the companies that are going to be able to afford the highly specific tailored models are going to far outperform the ones that have a general intelligence applied to many different things. And likewise, I feel that there's also going to be an even bigger gap from the companies that choose to use AI as a strategy versus those who don't. And so you'll get sort of this even wider gap between the companies who don't choose to incorporate AI into their employees' workflows, all the way up to the companies that are using very targeted models for very targeted tasks in their domains, right? I'm thinking about like healthcare, for example. You have very targeted models that are looking at, um, radiology images or something like that,
Yeah.
right? That's a very targeted model. You don't want general intelligence looking at that stuff, um, because the healthcare companies that do the general intelligence versus the targeted model, there's going to be a wide difference in who is able to look at early screenings for things like cancer, right? So that's just one example of that gap. Um, and
So,
yeah,
sorry, I guess just to jump in, I guess the only reason that the gap is going to exist is because of processing power and an economy, because the that targeted piece within the overall AGI gap, it just means that there's a lot of, if they do incorporate it there, that means there's a lot of fat on that model that's not going to get used and exercised. So if you can afford to run it both power wise and however that mechanism works, then maybe then again the large companies will be able to afford to do it. And I do think there's an interesting piece now. I think the particularly for small companies, micro companies, small companies, medium sized companies, that if they get on the AI bandwagon now, they will be still they can still be on that crest of getting the AI advantage. So if you're into developing, you want to develop tools and stuff like that now, there's still leverage to be had by adopting an AI strategy and making that work. We're going to get to a tipping point, I think, pretty soon, where if you're not using AI as part of your business, you're going to be left behind. And that differentiator. I think we are still on the the growth side of it, but only just. If you're even a small, so maybe an electrician or something like that, so maybe somebody who isn't into software, into that type of thing, but still has a lot of use for AI to help streamline their business flows. If they're not using it soon, then they're going to get left behind by other people who do adopt. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this narrative shifts from the could have, and it's a great thing to do, to must have, and if you don't, you're going to fall by the wayside.
yeah, and I think ultimately it comes down to leadership's attitudes on how to implement it, right? If they think about it as a tool and are prescriptive about it versus if they use specialized models versus if they just brute force it, that all that stuff will impact how it's adopted within a company. I'm just happy to see that a big company is waving the flag on this. That's my takeaway.
I guess the other bit that I would say as well is that we are at this point now where we probably don't know where AI is truly going to go, because it's now got to the point where the curious can use it. So it's the likes of you and I sitting there going, "Oh, what if I could do this with it?" And what I could, I've had this idea. Could I just do this? Could I link this to this agent to this agent, and do that? And some people will come up with some quite wacky ideas, or what we consider wacky, and then just prove things that nobody was expecting. It was on nobody's route map or anything like that. And then we'll end up using them on a day-to-day basis. I mean, could we say that 5-10 years ago that we'd be using AI so much, say even just within this podcast, the amount of tools and things that we've got in place to make this a better production, so we can focus on the delivery rather than having to do what would take you hours and hours and hours of prep beforehand. We wouldn't have predicted that years ago because it would have been seen as a frivolous use of this type of thing. Whereas now it's a core thing of what we're doing. So, yeah, no, I think this idea, this is almost the Pandora's box moment where people are going to be using it for doing random things that we can't even think about, and then it will become a de facto standard in very, very rapidly.
Open the box. All right. Why don't we get into the last story we have up tonight?
Yeah, so we're going to go with Google. So we play with Google's DeepMind's Project Genie, a showcase for the Genie 3 world model that lets you sketch or prompt your own tiny interactive worlds. So, Nick, have you been into your 60-second version of this yet? Have you handed over the big dollars to make this a thing?
Oh no, not yet. No, it's insanely cost prohibitive. I'll start with that. But I think the more interesting thing about this particular, so if you're unfamiliar, what it does is it basically generates an entire environment, and responds to your controls within that environment, right? So you can like think about like a video game, but a procedurally generated video game that only it generates every frame as it responds to your input. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. And I think this is an interesting application outside of gaming, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of talk in the gaming spheres about like, oh, this is gonna cause developers to lose all their money, or I don't know. But I think there's a more interesting narrative here that that maybe hasn't been talked about, and that's sort of the shift towards things like micro simulations. So now you might be able to simulate how a a new tool in an environment might perform, or how a setup at a desk might impact somebody's workflow as they're doing a certain task, and it can be modeled live on the fly with something like this. And so I find that approach fascinating. I also find the applications to video games fascinating too. You can put whatever world you want in there and then make your own game. I think there's a lot more that goes into game development that will make this not a non-issue for quite some time. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this thing?
I guess in some ways I'm not quite as excited about this as I think I should be. It's really got interesting potential. Clearly, you watch the video, and I recommend everybody to go and have a look at the video because it's high quality. It's got the way that they describe it is quite cool, but it's a bit Google Glass. They produce something. It looks cool, but what's it for really? What is the intended use case? I mean, my first thought was actually, what is this, just Minecraft in high def? But it just doesn't have the rest of it. Or is it Second Life? Because if those who remember Second Life as the next big thing, without friends, but with a massive bill, because as we've alluded to, it's you have to be you have to have their $250 a month AI Ultra plan to engage with it at the moment. That'll come down. I'm this is clearly, as they've done with Google Glass, it's an experimental thing. It's to throw it out there and just see kind of what happens. So that bill will come down in time. And I'm assuming that time limited factor is just for performance. They can't be throwing that much what is clearly high end processing to everybody just because they're mini expense. I guess the use cases you've already touched on a couple. I see, mini test rigs is there. I sort of had the idea. So when you look at digital twins, could you see and you weren't sure about how something was going to working gravity, or maybe zero gravity or something like that, understand the mechanical or movement of something when you do an assessment for usability or something like that. I think there's I can see different use cases in the same way that with Google Glass I could see when wearing them, when using them, I could use it for this, I could use it for this. Surgeons are there good, we could use it for this. But I think it's got to allow people have got to be able to play with it and then see what they do. For then Google will do what they did with Google Glass and go, okay, now we'll take it back in, and we'll go down this route with it. So, yeah, unlike the other two bits, it is a new pack because obviously it is prompt engineered, and so they're really leaning into that quite a lot. So that is cool. It's a great application of it. I can't quite get as excited by it as the other bits.
You bring up a good point about killed by Google, right? And I think this is actually a direct result of something that was killed by Google. I was a big fan of Stadia when it was a thing. And one of the things that they were working on with Stadia was, if you don't remember, Stadia was a cloud gaming platform by Google. And one of the things that they were working on in the early development of that was doing predictive frames based on predicted input from what you thought, or from what the system thought your next input would be. So it was generating different frames behind the scenes. Probably similar to how this works, to where if you were to hit left on the controller, it would generate, these things, and then the system would catch up with it. And so that was an attempt to reduce the lag that people would experience on these cloud gaming platforms. So I think this is probably a lot of that research being realized now, in terms of being able to produce not only frames ahead, but an entire model of a world at a prompt level. And I tend to share your sentiment about enthusiasm for Google made products when there's not maybe some super strong use cases for it. But if you think about things like Google Glass, they're coming out with the glasses later this year, right? And so all the early research that they did on Google Glass paved the way for them to do something like that. And even if, and Stadia, again, killed by Google, but paved the way for stuff like this, I'm pretty sure. And then, if this thing does get killed, what's the next thing that's going to use it?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of value in this, and I already kind of mentioned the simulation side of things. I think that's a huge benefit to this technology outside of the gaming application, right? Because you can imagine whatever world, but if you can imagine a real world, and if it moved with similar physics, or interacted with physics in a realistic way, you could take a picture of an environment, or throw in a modeled environment, and have humans interact with it in a way, in a digital environment, in ways that they would be anticipated to do so in real life. And so to me, the simulation piece is big. I don't know. I am excited about this, so I will be excited for both of us.
Right. Okay. No, I mean, you're right. I mean, this is why I don't mention the Google Glass in a Google Glass journey in a derogatory way. I think a lot of people do, is because you're right. They've developed a way of basically bringing in people paying to be beta testers. And it's that's they've got their beta model. They'll sell it. We'll engage with it, give them the feedback, and then they'll take that away and go do something else. And I think this will be there. I do like the idea, the more that we've discussed about it, around that digital twin world, because I've done and still doing using human digital modeling to try different things. But it's always it's an event. I have to go to a special room, wear special gear. If you could use something like this on your desktop, or just putting on just a standard headset, so that doesn't need like loads and loads of rendering, loads and loads of messing about. It's done for you. That's fantastic, and especially with Industry 5.0 coming along. So this idea of the more human focused industry development and production, this could have a really big impact into that. So yeah, I guess I guess I'll take back. I'm not as excited, or I'm not excited about it. I'm perhaps just not as excited. So I'm a bit excited.
Okay, all right. I'll take a bit excited. I think the one thing that I'll kind of end on with this is just imagine the domains that this could be applicable in. I saw a presentation years ago on sort of a simulated environment for being able to conduct triage in a battlefield scenario. And so, taking things like healthcare, um, or even defense, or heck, you could do you could even do education for something like this. Imagine, building a simulated environment of a solar system or something for a child, right? Like, and having them interact with that. Like, my son's really into space right now. He would love to be able to explore space, with his own character, using a model like this. And I think of how great that would be for things like education. And um you know I think that's cool. But be cool to see it in all these other areas too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that, I want to thank our friends over at Engadget and MIT Tech Review and the UX Collective for our news stories this week. We post all the links to the original articles in our Discord, where you can join us for more discussion on these stories and much more. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to see what's going on in aerospace. We'll be back right after this.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, huge thank you as always to our patrons. I see you. I hear you. You are supporting us in more ways than you can possibly imagine, because you are also supporting the lab, who does some fantastic things. And you support all the tools that we use, the web hosting domains. There's a ton of stuff that goes into running a podcast and a lab, if you could believe it. So thank you genuinely for all your support. And if you have the financial means to do so, we would love your support as well. I don't really have a good segue for this, but we're gonna get into a new segment for the show. I'm very excited about this. This new segment is called This Week in Aerospace. And this is brought to you by our friends over at the HFES Aerospace Systems Technical Group. So, Elena, Phil, over to you. What's the latest in aerospace?
Well, thanks, Nick and Barry. This is Elena Zhang, joined by Phil Doyle from the Aerospace TG at HFES. We're joining the show to share the latest news in aerospace.
So just before the holidays, the U.S. Department of Transportation unveiled the first Advanced Air Mobility Roadmap, or AAM, to accelerate aerospace transformation. That's a major turning point for air traffic management, and it sends a strong signal that the U.S. wants to leverage advanced air mobility in the near future. But first, what is AAM? Can you give us a brief explanation?
Yeah, so AAM refers to a new transportation ecosystem of small, low-altitude aircraft, advanced air traffic management, and supporting infrastructure that aims to move people and cargo around more efficiently. It includes electric vertical takeoff and landing, also known as eVTOL aircraft, efficient propulsion systems, and technologies that enable safe, scalable, low-altitude operations. Industry leaders are progressing towards initial AAM operations later this decade. To name a few, Archer Aviation is working with U.S. cities on early trial flights under a federal pilot program, and is positioned as official air taxi partner for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Joby Aviation has already delivered test aircraft and is preparing for early commercial air taxi services, with some international activity expected as soon as 2026. Beta Technology has completed fuel-efficient passenger flight tests in New York, with potential commercial services starting around 2026 to 2027. And Whisk Aero is developing what will be the first FAA-certified autonomous passenger aircraft.
All right, so Elena, you mentioned a few development, but are they already taking place in the US?
So actually, in the US, most eVTOL aircraft are still in the flight testing and certification phase, and that's because FAA certification process is very rigorous. Full commercial services will take time. As a result, several companies are advancing early development abroad where regulatory frameworks and infrastructures are advancing faster. For example, Joby Aviation has delivered aircraft to Dubai, and Archer Aviation is testing its eVTOL aircraft called Midnight in Saudi Arabia. Other companies are also conducting test flights and demonstrations to build early potential experience outside of US while continuing to pursue FAA certification. So, back to the US roadmap. How did AAM roadmap come to be?
All right, so this roadmap is the outcome of nearly 3 years of work, following a congressional mandate that was allocated to the Department of Transport to convene an interagency working group to define what they call a national strategy for the coming decade. So the working group brought together over 100 experts from 25 federal agencies, and the roadmap represents their consolidated view of this effort. Now, the AAM roadmap actually consists of two documents. There's a strategy and the plan. The strategy sets the larger policy visions of the United States, and it formulates 40 recommendations. The plan details how federal agencies will execute those recommendations over time. It's essentially a list of action items related to each recommendation and the agency responsible for executing them. Both documents are well worth reading for anyone interested in anticipating how the national airspace system may evolve over the next several years.
So, in your opinion, from a human factors perspective, what should we pay attention to?
So what really stood out to me reading the roadmap is how it frames the problem space. The strategy organized AAM integration around 6 pillars: airspace, infrastructure, security, community planning, workforce, and automation. We can start with airspace because that's a major one. So currently, airspace is managed by air traffic controllers that authorize what each aircraft can do. So ATC authorizes you to climb, descend, or move laterally. The roadmap suggests that airspace management will evolve toward what they call cooperative areas. The idea is that third-party service providers would manage defined portion of the airspace. That would still happen under the FAA rules and oversight, but it will no longer rely entirely on ATCs. So that's a big change.
Yeah, so from my perspective, the infrastructure pillar sounded like a call for action to modernize how we fly. The roadmap explicitly calls for new surveillance solutions for low altitude, high density operations and for communication protocols that move beyond traditional voice radio. With the number of vehicles expected to fly, airspace needs to move toward data link communication to manage authorizations and clearances more effectively because those can be handled by software. There's also strong emphasis on adapting existing infrastructure and regulations to accommodate new AAM entrants rather than forcing them into a framework that was designed decades ago. The roadmap points out that the current airport guidance was never written with remotely piloted, supervised, or autonomous aircraft in mind. Defining new facility and equipment requirements will be very critical here.
Yeah. Another big challenge would be workforce, as we are already facing pilot shortage in commercial aviation. And AAM will be competing for the same pool of workers and will also create new job categories that don't exist yet.
Right. Previous U.S. workforce studies identified dozens of new jobs across design, operations, and support roles. And schools and universities need to develop new education and training programs to prepare for those jobs.
And finally, there is automation. The roadmap acknowledged the arrival of highly automated vehicles in the airspace, like Whisk that Elena mentioned before, that is autonomous and remotely monitored. But we still need more information to know how to design and how to certify such highly automated aircraft. So the roadmap tasked the FAA and NASA to research on human-machine interaction and role allocation in highly automated and autonomous aviation systems, including performance during off-nominal and degraded condition. So we know that currently NASA and the FAA are already working with the industry and academics via what they call the RAM-AO working group. And so that stands for Routine Autonomous Multi-Aircraft Operations. And I'm really excited to learn about their results.
Yeah. The AAM roadmap has been well received by the industry, with news reporting saying that major eVTOL players applauded the US government for taking a strong position on AAM in the country. And we're very excited to see how it will pan out in the future. So that's all we have for this week. Thank you for listening. Back to you, Nick.
Well, that was great. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Elena. That's awesome. I love this. This is what a great segment.
Yeah, we're clearly out of a job. We're done.
Yeah, you can start next week. No, thank you. This is amazing. Thank you so much to our friends over at the Aerospace Systems Technical Group for putting that together. Elena, Phil, thank you so much for breaking down the latest in aerospace systems. If you like that segment and want more, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to the technical group and let them know that you saw it here and that you love it, and give them some positive feedback. All right, let's get into the last part of the show, I guess, that needs no introduction, but we'll just say it's one more thing. Barry, what is your one more thing this week?
Well, it's not my one more thing. It's actually my wife Amanda's one more thing, where she's this week got her certificate for her Masters of Science or her MSc in Human Factors Engineering. So I'm just now pleased that actually one of us in the company knows what they're doing. So no, I'm very proud of what she's achieved. She's not only got her MSc, but she's done that whilst we've had obviously our children growing up and also running doing the day job at the same time. So to do all of that together, and she also reflected that on every assignment that she had, a child was either ill or issues at university or something like that. So there was never an element where she had an assignment that there wasn't some sort of family drama going on at the same time. So yes, and then her final project she did amazingly well on. So no, I'm really proud. So congratulations, Amanda.
Congratulations, Amanda. That's huge, and I feel like Amanda's part of the extended Human Factors cast family. Even though I don't talk with her regularly, I still feel connected to her, and so I'm very proud too.
I'll let it know
if it's worth anything.
So what about you, Nick? What's your one more thing?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I've had to keep this one under wraps for quite some time, because if I had discussed it, then it would indicate that I was playing it. And okay, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a great game. I'm going to start off with that. It's phenomenal. It's the story has stuck with me in ways that I can't describe unless you've played the thing. It's very cerebral in a lot of ways. There is so much to love about that game. And the reason I couldn't talk about it is because it was the first episode that we were going to do for user experience points, and it was specifically on the parry system. And I'm just gonna play this for you. So if you want to go and find us on any of the social media platforms that have short form content, I will give you a taste of what to expect for our series, User Experience Points.
Ready to parry. Parrying in Expedition 33 isn't about staring at the enemy like you're in an awkward conversation. The parry timing is locked to auditory hits using signal detection theory. This requires that players filter noise in order to detect signals. Your brain is constantly separating signal from noise. Sound cues cut through all the visual noise, like motion. As a result, the game is designed to lower the noise and amplifies the signals, allowing users to filter through stimuli to detect signals, also known as auditory cues. Parry timing is calibrated to auditory reaction time, not visual latency. That's why it feels demanding compared to other games. Games like Dark Souls or Final Fantasy VII Remake emphasize visual anticipation and motion cues. Expedition 33 leans auditory, which the designers leverage to shape the learning curve for players. This explains why dodging feels safer compared to parry. The game gives you more grace. But when you land that parry, man, it feels rewarding.
Yeah, there you go. That's a nice taste. Although the visuals on that one were cropped quite weirdly here on the live stream, so apologies for that. But you can go see the full thing on our social media platforms. Like I said, it's a great game, and the lab did a great job with that. I'm incredibly proud of them. There's just a lot of pride here in the One More Thing this week. So congratulations, Amanda. Congratulations, the lab. And congratulations to you all for making it through the episode. That's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode, enjoy some of the discussion about AI and what it means for us as a society, I'll encourage you to go listen to one of our more recent episodes, episode 310, where we talk about how AI is reshaping human factors and UX roles and how the 7 emerging jobs are coming out due to AI and decision making and all that stuff. So go listen to that. Comment wherever you're listening with what you think of the story this week. Do you love the new segment as much as we do or more? Let us know. For more in-depth discussion, you can always join us on our Discord community. You can visit our official website, sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a couple things that you can do. One, you can leave us a 5-star review. You can do that right now, actually. There's still a couple minutes left here this hour. Why don't you do it? 2, you could tell your friends about us. That helps us grow through word of mouth. And, people tend to take your recommendations a little bit more seriously than an algorithm. Or 3, if you have the financial means to, why don't you consider supporting us on Patreon? You can help us support our lab and do wonderful things like what you just saw and heard for user experience points and amazing other things that we are working on too that I can't quite announce just yet. So there's a teaser for you. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. I want to thank Mr. Barry Kirby for being on the show today. Where can our listeners find you if they want to talk to you about AI?
If you want to come chat to me about AI, come and find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Or if you want to come listen to me chat and interview people around AI and other human factors topics, find me on 1202, the Human Factors Podcast at 1202pod.com.
Excellent. As for me, I've been your host, Nick Rome. You can find me on our Discord and across social media at Nick_Rome. If you're watching live, stay tuned for the post show. For the rest of you, thanks for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time, it depends. I was ready with it this time.
Well done. Yes, no, that's good.
I was ready with it, and I clicked it right as we said, it depends, and it still took like 5 seconds for the music to come in.
But that's good because you don't want to be crashing the out. So, for when you're for editing later. So
yeah,
good.
That was a tightly run show, but that was good.
Yeah, no, that worked. I think it's still this whole using multiple stories. I think around a subject. I think I quite like it's because it allows you to flex things and stuff.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it just so happened that those stories were put around the AI as a topic this week. We're not so fortunate to get that all the time, but
no, when it happens, I think it's a nice thing to leverage.
It is.
So,
it is. Kind of bummed that the video didn't come through as well as it's in portrait mode. So when I was,
is there no way of putting up a frame here that isn't full screen?
I don't think so. Like it's for some reason it's just so finicky with this stuff. Like I could, it automatically frames it to the full thing. Anyway, go look at the socials for the full thing. Like it's good. There's captions. There's more visually enticing elements that we're not seeing. You couldn't even see the Monsters Inc. meme that we put in there.
I would say you could just see the nose of
You could just barely see it. Yeah. Now I feel like I have to like show it. Anyway.
But no, and you must be quite proud of your this week in aerospace. That was I think feeding that back to them that that is really good, and maybe if the other TGs want to go and
yeah, if you yeah, if you are a technical group wanting to do that, reach out to me. I'm happy to do that. That's less work off our plates, and it works out well because we're getting the word out.
But I was also going to, I mean, don't necessarily want to talk on your behalf, the type of thing, but if you wanted to do that, nice. Because there's obviously the IEA technical groups as well.
Yeah.
You fancy doing some IEA stuff? Because we could push this out through the IEA channels as well if you wanted.
Yeah, hit me.
Tag it properly with the where it's coming from.
I have a model right now for how this works. So it can work for any interested party. It doesn't have to be a technical group. It could be a sponsored partner that you can pay us a lot of money for a spot on the show. $1 billion, because we don't do advertisements.
I as it happens, there is an IEA comms meeting tomorrow afternoon. So, if you are happy for me to do so, I'll share this with them, and they can.
Please do. If you, I can send you. I mean,
you put it's in the Discord, isn't it? So
somewhere, yeah. I think I can send you specific things in Discord if it's helpful, but essentially, it's like, have them make a script, read the script in a recording, and then send it over here, and we'll do some light production on it. Like, we didn't have to do much production for what the aerospace systems technical group sent over. They just they recorded it. They chose to do a 2-person format, but I think one would work well too. And I gave them the guidelines of 5 to 10 minutes as a segment, because I feel like that's typically how long our It Came From typically goes to, and so this can plug right into It Came From. So if we don't have anything for It Came From that week, we use one of these.
Yep.
We've still been sitting on these It Came Froms for like months now.
I was going to say we put them in the start of January, but I mean, if we had, again, if we got enough coming through, then that ideally makes that makes good content.
That makes the show. We go away.
Yeah, it's I like it. The
what post show?
I know. And so yeah, and presumably how easy. Because if they're 5-10 minutes, that's still within. You can still do that's still short form length now, isn't it? Because a lot of short form is 10-minute max. So
yeah,
so that's quite cool as well. So, yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think it's a really good way of sharing. So that, because I get a level of sort of frustrated that there's a lot of these technical groups out there that are doing some really, really good work, and we just don't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
Within the TG, people know, and then within there, everybody's on little ecosystems. But some of the stuff that they were talking about there, I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so, it's very cool, and especially for like I don't keep up with all the latest aerospace news. Like I said, I read those things, but they have a there's a special eye that the technical groups have on some of these stories that is like, oh, that's really important. And when they were talking about it, I could tell that it's like, oh yeah, this is really important.
Yeah, because they can put it into context and and things like that in a way that we can't, because that's why they're part of the technical group and we're not.
That's one of the drawbacks of us being generalists when it comes to the talking piece. We have our expertise, and we're heavily background in like systems development and kind of general human factors. But that's the thing that I think that we miss, is that specialty where folks can really step in and be like, this is so cool, and here's why. that maybe
Yeah.
we don't have. So
because again, we really enjoy having them people on, because when we've had them on in the past, they give us little nuggets of information that, I mean, in this, I keep on going back to the quote that Professor Paul Simon gave us around the when AGI is going to take over the world, because we can't. It only comes out of their specialist research and their specialist work. So yeah, no. So if anybody else who wants to come along as a specialist, and teach us, educate us, then crack on. I'd be well up for that. Because if you get that, and then if you do that in the main show, and then we have the TGs telling us what they're doing in the It Came From section, all we have to do then is the one more thing, and we're done. That's podcast.
that's the podcast. There it is. Yeah, I think there'll be some interesting things that'll have to happen if we end up getting. This is me talking from like a producer standpoint. If we end up getting a lot of things like that, if this is such a successful model, this is forward thinking by a lot, but it's such a successful model that so many want to participate in that. I think what would likely happen is we would bundle those as their own show, where we would do like an intro and an outro, and it's like this week across the human factors field or something, and that's like the show. And this would still be talking about, this would still be our show. And then since we're doing off weeks now, that would happen in the off week. So there's then weekly content. But that's me wishful thinking. This is so successful that every technical group wants to do it. Or that we have, we wouldn't need much. We'd need like 7, 8 technical groups to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, because there's the, because there, I mean, it's not just the TGs as well. It's some of the other groups that do some interesting bits. So I would say, if anybody who's part of a human factors group, full stop, that is of it's not just a technical group, but a special interest group or
affinity group, or anyone.
Because again, some of the Infinity groups I think are really interesting. And we've got some friends of the show who are very involved in quite a few of them. Having that sort of input, I think, would be really fascinating. Just that whole the focused element of it, I think, is fab. So, and you're right, you wouldn't need many for what we do. So, if we're doing it once a fortnight, that's what, 26 in a year. So, if we can't, and then we don't want them all the time. But if we do, brilliant. That would be great. So
they said they're sending more over. The aerospace systems technical group said they're sending more over. So I'm excited. We could just play it next time too. So that'll be nice. Awesome. What a hit! What a hit! That was great.
No, that's clearly the model to go with. I like it. Oh, certainly, it's a good example to start with, to show how it can be done.
How it's done. That's a K-pop Demon Hunters reference that you didn't even notice. How it's done. Okay. Yep. You're lost. If you kept up with the social zeitgeist, you'd be right there with me. We'd be locked in, Barry.
Unfortunately, not, because our children are different ages. So presumably, are you one of these families that have been watching this on repeat, basically over and over and over again, like I believe that most are now?
I mean, not as much as you might think, but yeah, there was a time where it was on every day. Yes.
Yeah. See, it's just not been a thing in our household. So mainly because my children are slightly older, like a lot older. So but yeah, no, I think it's at some point I guess I should watch it. Just to, because again, my kids have told me that the basic outline of the story, of where it's come from.
It's good. It's good.
But
it's a good. There's a reason why it's in the social zeitgeist. It's a good story.
See, we've been spending more of our time watching things like, so we've just recently finished the UK version of Traitors. I don't know if you've been.
Okay.
Traitors.
It's one that I want to get into, but I just haven't yet.
See, if you're gonna do it, you've got to. So obviously you watch the US version. You tend to use more of the reality stars in the US version.
Yeah.
Still host it over here in the UK. But for me, so the UK version was good when it first started. Then the US version, when they did that, so they did their series 1, you're like, oh, that's a different mix on it. I like that. That's quite cool. Then you watch the Australian version, and that just took the show in a different direction, in the way that people are. And so then, obviously it's gone on and on. In the UK, then over sort of, I guess Christmas time, we had the celebrity version. So we were first celebrity version, then so real celebrities, and then we've just had our latest normal version. So season 4, and it's funny because it's one of these programs that the mechanisms are actually really simple, and actually it really digs down into human psychology and the way that people just talk themselves in and out of things and stuff like that. And it's it just makes good watching, good simple family fun in many ways. I thoroughly recommend it. It's been good. So
Trying to think. I haven't really watched anything lately. My time has been spent playing games, and I've been really on like a game where you have to. I've been in a certain mode of game, and I don't know how to describe it. It's like mystery puzzle solving.
Okay.
So I played one recently called Blueprints. It's got some pretty positive reception, and the whole concept is that you're moving through this house and you have to draft out these rooms, and the different rooms have different things in them, and basically it's telling this meta story about this house and the world that you're in. But it's under the guise that you've inherited this house and you have to make your way to the 46th room in the house. And so to do that, you have to solve puzzles to get the last room open. And then once you get to that room, you actually find out that, like, this is minor spoilers, but you find out that that's really kind of the start of the game, because there's like a lot more going on in that game that's mystery focused. And so you're trying to piece things together. Like, I have so many screenshots and pictures on my phone of, like, half crumpled messages, and like trying to figure out who's who and what's the password for this thing, and where's the location of that thing, and how do you put these devices together to make this other thing. And it's all exploration and really great. And I really loved it. And I was wanting more. And so another game that's been on my list for a while is Return of the Obra Dinn. So right now I'm going through that one, which is fantastic. You have to solve basically murder. You have to figure out who. There's the ship. You're an insurance person, and you have to basically put together the story of what happened on the ship. And so you're like figuring out who is each person, and how did they die, and who killed them. And once you figure out pieces of information, it'll lock in, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, so I did get that right. And it's just a subtle unraveling of this story. And I don't know. I've really been in that mode lately where I have a full journal out next to me writing stuff down. I'm like, Abigail's outside and she's, next to this person. And then Abigail's brother is the person who was shot. And I don't know Abigail's brother's name, but as soon as I do, then I can go and fill that information in. And so there's like all this stuff. That's the mode that I'm in. That's the game. That's what I've been doing.
No, well, I guess, I'm still, I guess, hands deep in clay, doing pottery things. But this whole idea about keeping the pottery and the day job divided is getting harder and harder, because I'm producing things now that I think are better, and so I'm now being way more critical about the look and the feel, the touch, the usability of the bits that I'm producing. So I'm starting to blur the lines, which I find quite amusing. But it's good. It's keeping me entertained, and most importantly, I think it's forcing me to put like the phone down and things like that, because you can't touch your phone when you're doing any of this stuff. Even though I try and take photos of things, when you're actually doing things, you can't touch it because you're basically covered it in clay, and you can't use your phone like that. So yes, I'm doing more of that offline stuff.
Have you made yourself a Norman teapot yet?
No, I haven't. So I was talking about this to a colleague the other day, because I've had an idea, and I don't know whether I mentioned this to you on here or not. So for having again blurring the lines between work and not, I was like, I fancy doing an exhibition, a pottery exhibition, of which I just want to call Bad Ergonomics. And obviously, my friend was saying, obviously the one that comes to mind is the design of Everyday Things teapot.
Yeah.
And so I went back and looked at the picture of that, and it's quite an interesting shape to do, because it's quite tall in the way they do it. So I think replicating it exactly is going to be a challenge, but that's cool. But if I'm going to do an exhibition of bad ergonomics, that has to be there.
It has to be one of them. Yeah.
It's got to be, if nothing else, it's the in joke that anybody who actually knows ergonomics who comes along will recognize what it is. So, but it's also going to be quite interesting, because I'm going to have to do some maybe audience participation of what other things should be made in order to show the design of Everyday Things badly. So I think it's things like your teacup, that your mug that has either too thin a base, or the handle is sort of upside down away from the center of balance, and or the wrong way around. So
you could do like a convex plate.
Yes, yeah,
right. That's another one. You could do.
Sometimes I do that just accidentally. This is all going to be deliberate, but yeah, no. So there's definitely a whole bunch of stuff that, if you were to put almost 20 pieces together, what would be the iconic things you could make that just exemplify bad ergonomics? And so the idea, so it'd have to be something that then, when people go to this exhibition, they can pick these things up and touch them, feel them, and recognize that. So it's not just something to look at; it's something to engage with. So, yeah, I really quite fancy the idea. I think it's quite neat.
Yeah, trying to think of other things like, an upside down, like pot or something, right? So that the lid is on the bottom. You pull it up and off, and then all the
just falls through. So. And it's things like, so again, when you look at mugs, but turning the handle through 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So you just hold it like that and do that, or have even just subtle things like having the lip of the mug either too thick or too thin. If you have it too thick, then it just makes it really terrible. I don't know how that fits with an exhibition though, because obviously you'd want people to try and feel it on the lips, and then we'd have to have like wipes or something to. Feels like administration, but so I want to try and go through and develop a whole bunch of ideas like that. So if anybody's got ideas and they want to throw them at me, then please do. So we shall see. But yes, I spend all my time now just getting playing with mud,
playing in the mud
like a child, which is great.
I've also been doing audiobooks lately too. I took a big break from books in last year because I got really busy with the move and everything. And earlier this year, so like last month, I finished a book that I've been reading for a year and a half.
Right, okay.
And now I've read like 4 cents. So it's been a nice like reminder that yes, I can get through these books. And that's for leisure. That's nice.
Yeah, I've sort of been doing a bit more because we've been doing lots of traveling up and down south, up and down down the country. If I'm traveling on my own, it's a 5-hour trip at best. So queuing up podcasts only lasts so long. And I've sort of gone off political podcasts to a certain extent. I used to do listen to a lot of political podcasts.
Same.
They've bored me now. So, and then
Same.
actually, the podcasts I've listened to have just stopped. So there's been people who I listened to at the beginning and they've just given up, or they're on a break, or whatever. So got back into deep sort of weighty books on audio to do that. And there's been a couple of books, and there's the second one I'm doing at the moment that I thought I'd read. I absolutely thought I knew the story and all that sort of stuff, and it turns out I clearly hadn't. Or maybe I'd read it so long ago and I only remember like snapshots of it, or didn't read it very well, or whatever. Because I'm like, it feels like I'm enjoying them again for the first time, which is fantastic. So I've been reading a lot of Tom Clancy in the Jack Ryan series.
Oh, okay.
Things, and so you sort of know all the way up to like Patriot Games and all them sort of ones. I'm now in like sort of Executive Decision and the ones sort of Clear and Present Danger and things like that. No, I don't read Clear, but whatever the Sum of All Fears, ones like that. That I was like, I've read these, I know these, and I was like, actually, I feel like I'm reading these or listening to these for the first time, which has been a refreshing experience. And also, like audiobook wise, they're very weighty. They're thick books anyway, so having them in audiobook, you're talking, a good tens of hours of listening. So that works for the journeys that I'm doing. So,
do they do any special production for those audiobooks?
No, not particularly. They're just generally read out.
Yeah, one thing that I love. So I listen to Star Wars audiobooks because nerd over here. But one thing that I really appreciate about the Star Wars books is that they do audio, like full on audio productions. So they'll do the music, they'll do the sound effects, they'll do like if you're in a forest, you'll hear like wildlife in the background, the Foley, you'll hear like it's a full on production, and it's so well done. Because they have the sound library. Like a lot of Star Wars is built on the sound.
Yes.
John Williams and the music, and then you have all the sound effects that are iconic, and so like having all those built into an audiobook experience, it's like I'm listening to a movie.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic.
Cool. Have you read or listened to Project Hail Mary?
I want to.
You absolutely need, obviously, because it's coming out in film,
yeah,
in the cinemas in next month.
Yeah, soonish. Yeah.
And this was one of them that which way did I go for? So I read the book first, and brilliant, amazing. I won't spoil it. But if you've not read it, anybody's absolutely go read. If you like The Martian, sort of similar hard sci-fi type approach, but properly engaging, and really relatable story. This is the same. In fact, I think it's this has got a more interesting, better twist to it, I think, in the way that it works. But very still engaging. And then when I heard so I was like, oh, I'll get that on audiobook because I'd quite like to listen to it again. And what they do in the audiobook in that is actually just subtly brilliant. And I'm not going to tell you why, because it'll spoil it. But it's worth doing.
Okay.
It wonders about whether to do both. Absolutely do both for this book. It's brilliant. And so this is one of these films that I'm really eager to watch it, but I'm also terrified
if they get it wrong.
They get it wrong.
Yeah.
In the same way that when they talked about bringing out Top Gun 2 Maverick, that I didn't want them to do that because I thought they would just ruin it. Obviously, we're talking to they didn't. I think Maverick is a really good film, and tastefully done. This I've I'm now seeing trailers for it, and I'm like, oh, oh, yeah, no, I think you're all right. Okay, I don't think you've ruined it. Okay, and I think so. I don't know. It's we'll see, but I'm very
Yeah.
excited.
Is it done? Is it done by the same team that did The Martian? Because I just rewatched that recently, and it's just a phenomenal movie. Like, I forgot how good that was.
It is, and what I like about that is they've made changes from the book. There are, the sort of the way it's finished, and some of the other bits they've just left out of the film, but they've done it in a way that doesn't destroy the book or the
Right.
film. So that works really quite. I mean, obviously the book has more detail in it, and they do go into more science in the book because they can, and that's the nature of writing. But the way that they've edited the film transcribed it for the film and then edited the film has done it well, so you don't miss that stuff. And they've added some extra bits in for context, and so going that that's worked well. And so as long as they do it in the same way, I'm a happy man. But I'm also terrified that they're just going to ruin it because the story is just brilliant. So
that's the sentiment I see everywhere: is don't F it up,
And so you see, because again, you see something like Ryan Gosling is playing the lead character, and so then you get that's really 50-50. Some people are like, really, Ryan Gosling? Do we want to be doing that? And other people are going, yeah, no, I could, because the way he's done some characters in the past, yeah, I could see how we can make that work. So yeah, we'll see. So it's clearly going to be a case of if I do go and see it and I'm not around after that, because I'm just in a foul mood, then yeah, no, they clearly got it wrong. But I am excited. So, but yeah, thoroughly recommend if you get the read the book, get the audiobook, brilliant.
March 20th.
March 20th.
Yeah, so it's coming up here. 2 hours 36 minutes.
It's quite substantial. Yeah, no, in fact, because there's a lot of concepts to get over. There's sort of like, I guess, 3 main themes to play with. So yeah, no, I think that's a promising length.
Lord and Miller did it. Okay.
So who did The Martian?
I don't know. Lord and Miller are behind the Lego Movie and the Spider-Verse films. They were on Solo for a while, but then they got replaced by Ron Howard. The Martian. Let's see here. I can Google. It looks like it was directed by Ridley Scott. Okay.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, actually, I knew that.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember.
Yes. Yeah, so it will be a different look and feel then.
It will be different look and feel, but I really like Lord and Miller's stuff. They do really good job with the source material. They are not ones to do. They're not one to treat that source material poorly.
Yeah. Because again, it'd be quite. I mean, hopefully this will encourage Andy Weir to write more books because he's done some short stories. He's also done a book called Artemis, which is based on the moon. And again, it's a very different style, or it's a very different story, I guess, as you'd sort of expect. But I like reading his stuff. It's really engaging. It's actually got me more engaged in reading more sci-fi or hard sci-fi stuff. I'm currently reading Ender's Game, which obviously it's a bit of a classic, but I'd only ever seen the film before, so I picked up the book to put it on my Kindle anyway. I very rarely now read hard copy fiction books. It's all Kindle. So
cool. Well, it's about that time, Barry, and just thank you for the people who have been joining us all this time. I see the numbers. You've been consistently here, whether or not you commented or not. I see you. You're here. Thank you. And for those of you watching, listening later, thank you too. And we'll be back in just 2 weeks' time for our next show on the 19th.
Awesome.
Great. Well, until then, thank you for tuning in, and hope you're all happy and healthy, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and